Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Tena and you're listening to the podcast Make Some Waves, where we are telling stories how people can make a positive impact in their community. Today, here with us is Filip Stipančić, a passionate entrepreneur, a lean startup evangelist, a mentor who is also a workshop facilitator and a practitioner. Thank you so much for coming here today and joining us on our podcast.
Hi, good afternoon, Tena, and thank you for the invitation. It is a pleasure, and I am looking forward for having those next 45 minutes in our conversation.
I mean, we have a lot of things to go over, but let me first give a brief introduction to our listeners who are listening to the episode. So, I mean, when I was researching about your background, you have an extensive experience in startups, in entrepreneurship. And so basically, you first started as an engineer. So you're a soft skilled engineer with experience in entrepreneurship, and you actually founded 4 startups over the course of the career. Today, you're helping individuals turn their ideas into action, where you co founded Startup Drill and you're serving as a mentor in several startup incubators in Europe. So I can imagine that you have a lot of projects, a lot of people that you are constantly on daily basis talking, getting involved, and actually helping the projects turned into successful companies. You're also an owner of a software implementation and sales consultancy business and a partner in an innovation agency, Lean Startup Croatia, which we're actually going to talk a bit more today. So thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to hear all about how Lean Startup Croatia actually started. So maybe could you first tell us what motivated you to start Lean Startup Croatia?
Well, thank you. It was a group of people actually that had this spark and the interest in entrepreneurship, and particularly in startups as, let's say, a part of the entrepreneurship with high risk companies, usually companies that are in the tech industry. And back in 2011, 2012, 2013, there was a movement in the US which was caused by the book called The Lean Startup. And several of us in Croatia have read the book, and we've actually understood some of the principles and could connect it to the lean methodology and lean manufacturing, the methodology that was applied within Toyota production system, the origins of lean. And as I was a student of mechanical engineering, together with some other colleagues, we got interested in the topics. So we also explored how to actually apply the lean startup as a new methodology. And this was actually a topic of my final thesis at the undergraduate studies on the mechanical engineering. So after some time, we actually decided, to bring and to gather the community around these ideas and to organize some events, meetups, workshops, and let's say informally this movement started and got more people involved. And there was a platform called meetup.com, which also was one of the, let's say, early apps for connecting people around similar ideas, and that's how the thing started. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the app. I actually I attended as much meetups as I could regarding marketing, sales, and I was really pleasantly surprised that people are really organizing great meetups. They're bringing great speakers, and actually it would always have a good turnout. Plus the
Yeah,
location was great. Was either some type of pub or some good space where people could really get to know each other. So
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But at
I
some point we outgrew the meetup.com, and we stopped using the app as it was not so popular in our region.
mhm.
But as we had other channels like Facebook, which got much more powerful. Then yeah.
So could you maybe tell us like what is you're in contact with so many people. What is actually the drive behind the project that you are working with? I mean, everybody has an idea, but what actually motivates them to start and finish the idea from the from just a thought to actually bringing an idea to life? What would you say? What drives the people into startups?
Well, I think it's a complex question because there are different motives behind, right? So some people do it because they see a problem and they would like to solve it. If that's the case, that's probably the best. Some people are just bored and they're trying to do something with their skills and time and everything. Some people watch news a lot and they see some other guys earning a lot of money and they think that's the way to go. Some other people just get lucky, let's say, and meet somebody else who has a drive or an idea. They join the team and they just use their skills to build something great. But anyhow, very often it's a mix of different skills and luck and motivation of different substances, to actually succeed in startups. And many of them just don't succeed, unfortunately. So we are still in this quest of exploring, how to have much better success rates.
Would you say that it's easier to start a company alone or when you need help? I imagine that you have like diverse teams. Sometimes to have a good team is actually the key to success of either a startup or an idea. But
Yeah.
would you say it's what would be the best or better solution? Not maybe the best because
There is a good quote which says that if you want to go somewhere fast, then go alone. But if you want to go far, then go with somebody else, right? So it's pretty similar with startups, I think, because there is so many ups and downs along the way that very often you need somebody to push you, and you need somebody to, when you're having a bad day, you hope that the other person or other co-founders don't have a bad day. But yeah, it's usually, I think it's better to have a team of people, and this is also confirmed by the investors because very often investors will only search for two or three or four co-founders, because in case somebody quits or something happens, they would like to have, the risk diversified a bit better on several people who can actually continue the work. So that's usually the suggestion. Yeah.
yeah. Did that work for you when you started your companies? You were also starting with the
Yes.
team or Mhm.
Yes. So I do always have a partner and a team. It didn't. I wouldn't say that this is all 100% of the time, the most pleasant or the best or the fastest way. But I think at the end, it definitely it's worth, because you when you're alone, it's much tougher. And I did meet many people who actually succeeded on by themselves, and I think each one of them said that if they would do it again, they would not do it on their own. So I think that's good thing to take out of that.
And when talking about the startup scene in Croatia, I have to say in the past couple of years, not so many, but couple of years, becoming an entrepreneur has like it started to be a sexy thing. I know that when my parents actually started their company, it wasn't always a sexy thing to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you would really need to fight your way through. They're still fighting. But maybe could you tell us more, like how is the startup scene like 10 years ago versus today?
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, since we've started our events that I described before in Croatia, there has been like a switch of generations, I would say, because today or maybe even 2 generations. Today, you don't meet the same people anymore. There are some new faces around, and those new people are actually maybe having a different motives and maybe having different expectations from startups and from their career pursuing, let's say, startup success. I think that the community has actually matured in the meantime. This is probably also because that we have a much greater access to international resources, something what's online, of course, but also to different examples of startups that actually manage to internationalize their business. So to be able to find customers outside of Croatia and bring some knowledge and some capital back. We are still not there that we would say that's the point when we can be successful with that. But I think that things are improving very much. So maybe the best thing what is happening currently is that you have really several success stories for, let's say, last year, and this seems to impact younger generations a lot, and they seem to get some courage, and they seem to get some self-confidence and are much more eager to try something, right? But at the same time, when we are doing many projects like innovation challenges and different startup incubators, accelerators, and when we are collaborating with different partners or entrepreneurship supporting organizations, we always see there is a lack of individuals and teams who would actually use all the support that is outside, who would use all the money or the capital, who would use all the infrastructure there which is there. So we still need to work on encouraging younger generations actually to become entrepreneurs and to build a startup.
Is it possible that they don't know that exists, this support system, or they're just, or they just don't want to be a part of it? Because I have a feeling that when I was talking to some younger generation students as well, they all at some point of their career, maybe not at first, but at some point they all want to start their own businesses, and they're actually exploring the options. I mean, uh, yes, you're right. Definitely today they have access through not just online platforms, but through social media. So like really, if you need a support system, you can find it, whether it is through, like simple Facebook groups or an organized like Lean Startup Croatia. So I'm not sure, maybe they're just not aware of all the help they can actually get, or they're just searching in the wrong places. What do you think?
I don't know what is actually the case, but I think that having your own business is kind of a romantic idea for many people. And when you are a student, you are actually, having this big plans and a lot of options, and you can do everything, right?
Yeah.
I had it as well. Everybody does. And then at some point, there is all of those options and paths are just narrowing, and then you need to choose something. And then many people actually are choosing the less risky option, because we as a society, as actually as a nation, as a what's the best word, citizens of Croatia, as a nation, we are very risk averse, and in our households and during the upbringing, we don't get this entrepreneurship spirit, most of us, right? And we don't get supported to actually risk and to try to invest something to grow. A friend of mine who is actually a Croatian, but born outside of Croatia and lived on a different continent all of her life, she gave me a nice perspective. And she said, you know what, in Croatia, everybody wants to invest in success. And this was so simple, but it was so true. Everybody expects that they will be part of something, but only they will decide to do it only at the point when they are sure this is going to succeed. And unfortunately, this is not a way how you can succeed in entrepreneurship, because you have to invest 99% of time before success happens. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but I think I gave you few things to think about.
No, I mean, definitely without risk there is no gain, actually. So I mean, if you if you want to go far, you really need to work for it. So it's not just 8 to 4 working hours. Is actually the whole day. It's prepping, researching, proactively reaching out to the industry, to the community. Nobody is going to do it for you. There isn't any 100-year-old brand that is standing and watching your backs, that everybody knows your name. You really need to fight your way through. So I mean,
Yes,
I totally agree
and
with you.
at the other hand, you were asking me why is this the case that we are missing teams or individuals which are aspiring to found startups. On the other hand, I think that we are having a big lack of know-how and
Mm-hmm.
specific knowledge, because if you are if you are planning to build a successful tech startup which needs to operate in an international market, because Croatian market is so small that you cannot survive and make it sustainable here. You need to actually find a really important and really valuable problem to solve, and that's the only way to find such a problem, is to actually have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience within a specific industry. And to have that, you also need to uh, build that experience through time. And usually, companies that operate in Croatia are not offering this opportunity, neither for the employees to actually gain this experience, because most of the development is done somewhere outside and just sold. The product is sold here. So, but that's maybe even a larger
I
problem.
have to say that I think I would agree with you, because I have a feeling that, for example, in foreigner countries that are way bigger than Croatia, um, the system teaches you to be an expert. So in one field, in one thing, and here we need to know a lot of different areas. There is not many of us that are actually expert in just one field. So I would say the knowledge is more general. It's not a specific one, which is actually a good thing in cases if you need to, let's say, run a company or manage something, or do some type of building inside the companies. But still, if you are if you're offering a solution to a specific problem, if you don't have that expert knowledge, you're not going to see maybe all the flaws in your solution, or you cannot predict everything that can happen when the product or service is actually live. So
Yes, exactly. That what you're saying is very true. And you are having uh, the thing that uh, because of the market, which is so small, individual or a company needs to provide much more services to actually gain enough revenue to be sustainable in the long term. And this is actually damaging this opportunity to become and be an expert in one area and be the best and serve the customers in only this particular area. So that's why I'm saying that people and startups actually need to, at the very beginning, think how to go to international markets and actually uh, build products for those markets.
and what would you say, what are the advantages and disadvantages of starting a startup in Croatia, with
Hmm.
your years of experience in today's world? What would be pluses and minuses when starting here?
Well, there are many pluses, of course, and there are some minuses that we already mentioned. But maybe we should start from the positive side, right? Um, the positive thing is that our price quality ratio of workforce is pretty good. So here you still can actually find a very skillful workforce for a decent or normal price, or a competitive price, better to say. That's the reason for that is because the living costs are still much lower than in some, let's say, wealthier, larger cities and countries. And on the other hand, the quality of life that we all cherish here and the leisure opportunities are tremendous, right? So at the same time, you're having a living cost which is low, and you're having so great quality of life. Still, this is not keeping people to stay in Croatia, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and we need to figure out that other side. But okay, on the other hand, there is a big advantage of physical and regulatory access to European Union markets. So I'm talking about the startups need to go outside of the country to internationalize. EU is pretty big market, and there are many countries that they can target, and this is very accessible today's. We have pretty good e-citizens service. So this is a novelty that was, let's say, novelty done by a few years back. Um, Also, you can have a pretty good way of initiating the business on a legal sense, which is this sole proprietorship, or a paušalni obrt, as we call it,
Mm-hmm.
which can be a pretty entry level way to actually lower your entry fees and try to do something as an entrepreneur. And there is actually lack of competition in Croatia, and there is a lot of opportunities on the sense. It's a very small market, but a lot of services are so low quality that there is a very big opportunity to actually improve all of those services, especially those related to public services like healthcare, education, legal services, and so on, even transport. That definitely a company can exploit these opportunities. So I think these are most important positive sides that we have here. I don't know if you have anything to add that I missed.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I would also have to say that when you referred to the quality of life here in Croatia, you really have time to be an entrepreneur and actually spend time with and having a personal life, whether it is with your family, your friends, or you just want to go for a quick weekend. I think today, like for young people, it's really important the flexibility of time. I mean, it's always important that the job gets done, but still, you can really have here, I would say, a company that you are working on, but still have the personal aspect of life, which actually leads to a good quality and work life balance. So
Yes, and I think that in general we are actually having a healthy life.
yeah.
Maybe I can refer to food, not only food, which is cooked food, but actually we have access to naturally produced food, or we have a big agricultural potential as well, which is also unexploited, unfortunately. But that's also something that actually adds up to this quality of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And could you maybe tell us how actually the government is helping the private sector to thrive and even grow even more? I mean, you've said a couple of really good things that actually are contributing to the private sector. I think it's an important topic because I have to say that sometimes when I'm speaking to people about entrepreneurship or starting their business, to people who haven't started their business, the perception is that it's hard, everything is hard, there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of um,
Yeah.
things to do before even get started. And so I would say it's a bit discouraging for some. I wouldn't generalize, but I would say for some. So maybe could you give us more insights in how actually the government is helping to
Well, I've heard this many times, about bureaucracy and paperwork and blah, blah, blah. But I think all of this is more or less a good excuse for many people not to do something, right? And to be honest, if that's a problem for you or a big obstacle that is going to prevent you to start a company and to change your career path, then be it. Then it's even not for you, right? Because if you're not able to solve this, then you should not even try to solve issues on the market, because those are a magnitude harder than the ones that you are mentioning with bureaucracy and so on. But I'm maybe not the right person to talk about the bureaucracy or about how is government helping or not helping, because I'm not that involved in this at all. So not personally, not as a business person. I even don't read any newspapers. I don't inform myself on a daily basis, because I don't make any decisions based on this information. So
Yeah.
I really don't care. And when something happens which is important, I know it, because it's so
It's hard
widespread
to
around.
miss.
Yes, exactly. So you cannot miss it. Um, and on the other hand, when you are receiving any kind of information from the public sources and the media, for example, any press release or any conversation which is coming from, let's say, Ministry of Economy or something like that, there is nothing I can say which can be actually
A good or a bad
interesting
thing.
about this.
Yeah.
No, it's to me it's not interesting. It's just rubbish usually. So.
But okay, putting the government aside, I would really like to learn more. I mean, the project that we would really like to talk today more about is the Lean Startup Croatia. So you said that it's founded and based on the methodology Lean Startup. I think I remember when I was at college, we were actually learning on the Toyota example, the methodology. But could you maybe tell us more about what is the basis of a lean startup?
Mhm. Of course, as you mentioned Toyota again, maybe it's a good thing to start from there as well, because the idea behind the lean as lean manufacturing or lean management that came out of it, and which was initiated by Toyota and Toyota production system, is the idea that they can actually create a more efficient process that can uh, build cars of higher quality and fulfill demand of the market much more precisely. And there is many sub theories or sub methodologies of lean within that. But the most important fact is that you are actually always focused on the value. So what is creating the value for the customer, and how can you eliminate waste on this value creation process. So I'm still talking about Toyota production system and manufacturing. So when they are observing this production system, they are trying to see what kind of waste can you create, right? So you have waste in overusing some materials, you have waste in waiting, you have waste in too much uh, time spent on some specific part of the process and so on. But when you are looking at a startup and you are looking at a team which is trying to build a new product and put it on the market, um, we can actually see how this correlates, because as they are building this product, they are also creating a lot of waste. And this waste is usually created by them actually investing a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of creativity, but also money into a product which they are not sure if it's even needed. And statistics says that most of the startups actually fail because they build a product which market does not need. So there is no need on the market for such a product. So it would be very reasonable to start from the back part of that, and actually see if there is a need for the product before you build it. And that's one of the ways how Lean Startup methodology is applied in product development within startups. So that actually means that through the process, you are applying this methodology to test, to first assume, then to test, then to learn out of those tests or experiments, and then assume again, or build based on customer expectations. So let's say that most plastically explained, that would be the Lean Startup methodology. There is this build, measure, learn loop, which is usually most famous one for this cycle of development.
I have to say that the methodology really has some similarities to design thinking methodology. There is also a good part of the process which you're actually learning, testing, and learning. I mean, I'm guessing today we have quite quite a bit of approaches and ways how we can actually, you know, take an idea and actually bring it to life. But I have to say, when you were talking about testing, and I remember that I think I've heard an interview from a CEO, Sarah Blakely. She's a CEO of Spandex, and she was telling a story how when she was growing up, actually her dad, he would ask her every week, at what did you fail this week? And actually,
Mhm.
when she didn't have anything to say, I didn't fail at anything, he was disappointed. And when we were talking about the mindset in Croatia and how we grew up and how we actually are not pushed into failing, not, I wouldn't say failing, but exploring the possibility of not succeeding. We are so
Exactly.
afraid of it
Yeah.
that, as if something really, really bad would happen. Yes, you would probably lose some time, you would lose some money, but you would also gain really good experience, a learning experience, and you would iterate and try again until some of the ideas and solutions really succeed. So when I actually heard that her dad was disappointed because she didn't fail at something, I was, for example, an A student, a nerd. So I would need to get things done like in a good way. And I was
Mhm.
really afraid of getting an F or one in Croatia, as we would say. And when I think back, I think of what I was afraid of. I mean, there's always a possibility to do it better. There's always a possibility to do something extra, to do some extra work where, like, in the second try, you would probably uh, get it right. So I think the mentality here is the key.
Yes, I don't know why, but we always think that in Croatia that failure is actually opposite to success,
Yeah.
and it's not opposite. It's a stepping stone, they would say, to success, right? So you need to fail to succeed. And in societies which are more entrepreneurially driven, this is a known fact. So sometimes failure is actually celebrated. It's encouraged, as you mentioned, right? Just in the spandex example, and I think we would actually feel much better if this would be the case here as well, and we would probably in the end be much more successful.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I would say less afraid and more prone to taking risks.
Yes.
Because when I'm talking today with the some of the founders and directors of companies, like, one of the advices that they would give, there is no need for you to wait too long. If you want to do something, just try, and you will see if it fits, if it doesn't, if you see yourself in, whether it is an entrepreneur or just, if you want to, for example, organize a meetup, try. There is no, why fear that, I don't know, somebody wouldn't come to a meetup or something like that. So I would say the culture of trying and taking risks, and actually, if not succeeding, is a good thing. We should have some type of, celebrations when something doesn't succeed because you actually learn from it.
Yes, I mean one of the quotes from the Lean Startup is also fail fast, or not the Lean Startup as the book, but as the whole movement, which is also embracing you to actually find very early what's not working and learn out of that something and build something that works. So that's applicable for any part of life, I would say.
So can you tell us maybe more about the process? How are you onboarding new teams? How are you leading them? What if somebody wants to, for example, start with the idea? What is the process behind it? How can you help them, get to a point where they can actually start working on the execution?
Mhm. Well, there are different ways, but that's the reason why in 2015 and 16 we actually saw that there is a lot of teams that are claiming to understand and apply a lean startup, and there was no resource and there was no actual knowledge to do that. And the book which was written was very theoretical and not that applicable. So we actually created this uh, methodology of startup drill, something that you mentioned at the beginning of our podcast here. And this methodology was actually developed to help teams in early stage to apply lean startup on their ideas. And that was done on a way to actually start from the problem and help them transform their ideas into uh, customer oriented problems, set assumptions around those problems, prioritize these different assumptions, and figure out which ones are needed to test the first. So which of those assumptions are the riskiest ones, the ones that if they fail, everything fails, right?
Yeah.
So after they know that, they actually select and define who is the early adopter or the customer that's uh, well, most likely to have this problem and to use some solution. So by this point, we are not even considering a solution, right? And then we are going to test that. So we offer different experiment tools to actually test these assumptions with potential early adopters to figure out if that's true or false for a start, right? But through the process, you're actually learning a lot. You get some new information, you get some new insights about how the customer thinks about the problem, if the problem is even there, how they solve it today, and how they think about a particular solution in the future. And that's something that you can use in building your further assumptions, which then further on build a product or a service that you can test. So you start small with small steps, and then you through time and through process, you actually build that to a real product or a solution.
So baby steps first.
Of course.
But can you tell me what are the projects that you're currently working on? You just launched TeamUp platform, so maybe could you tell us more about it? I
Exactly.
mean, there are really good projects going on currently, so maybe if somebody really wants to tune in or join the projects, please give us some of the scoops.
Yes. So TeamUp is a project that we actually launched to address the problem that I was mentioning at the very beginning of our conversation, and it's related to the lack of teams and the lack of individuals eager to start a team. We still believe there is not that we know there is a big amount of individuals, women particularly, who are actually interested in founding a startup or a business, but they are missing some components. They are missing a team. They are missing some skill set, or maybe some push, some courage, and so on. And TeamUp is here actually to help them to have a place and time to present what they want to do, who they need for the team to succeed, and to actually find those people. So it's a mix of events and a platform that is built for individuals and startups to find their early employees, co-founders, advisors, and any associates they would need in this stage. It's completely free, and we are doing that nationwide. It's online, and everybody who is interested in finding an opportunity to join a startup or to launch opportunity for other people to join, they are invited to do that.
So basically, they just tune in into a webinar or an online or maybe someday an offline event. And basically, they are listening to the companies and their needs, or let's say, founders. And if somebody can see how they can contribute and they want to be a part of the startup, they would just reach out to the company or to the startup, right?
Yes, that's the part of the event. But we also have TeamUp Online, which is an online platform. That was a second phase of the TeamUp project, where we actually enabled all the teams who are pitching to publish their open positions, and everybody can actually access those and read more thoroughly what the startup is needing, and they can apply through the website directly. So the process is much easier.
Great. I mean, we will definitely put up some links in the description, in the videos, and in the
Mhm.
audio format. So everybody who wants to explore either the projects or just reach out to Philip to learn more about the Lean Startup, please take a look at the links. But apart from that, could you maybe tell us what is at what stage are you currently with Lean Startup Croatia, and what is actually the vision? How far do you want to go with the Lean Startup?
Well, Lean Startup Croatia was actually founded to uh, help different entrepreneurs and innovators to create more successful products or services that their customer would need. And let's say that our long-term vision would be to actually enable every company to have innovation as their viable option, or have innovation as something that can actually bring value to their customers. Um, so in international spectrum, innovation is a very hot subject at the moment, and from my opinion, it's still in some early days, because we are still exploring different ways how to actually bring value through innovation, how to create new products, how to create new services, what is the most successful way. And we are teaching, and we are doing a lot of activities in innovation side, and as well as in Croatia. So a lot of our work is actually educating potential different companies, big or small, how to innovate, and make them aware how important that is. Then probably there will be a next step where we'll have more opportunity to apply everything they learned and actually create new products and new services for their clients. So that's
I
how I
think
would
it would be
sum up.
great if every company would have an innovation team or innovation hub. I
Exactly.
know some companies do have it, but I would I don't know how many in Croatia. I would say a few, but definitely like in other countries, I know that they really have innovation hubs or teams that are working outside of the current projects, and they are just trying to test the ideas what you are doing with the projects and the teams in Lean Startup Croatia. So I think if we have at least two members of innovation team in a
Yeah.
company, I think that's already a big success. So
Yes, it even maybe for a beginning, it even doesn't have to be a team. It can be just one session per month or per week where it can be discussed about innovation ideas. Maybe that would be a start as well.
yeah, I have to add something here. In the former company, we would actually have once a month, let's say a
Hmm.
monthly session. It had some really uh, weird, funny name. The name of the session, I really cannot remember, but like everybody from different departments would come. Anybody who wanted, they could come to the session, and we would have let's say a minute or two. We would pick like a topic that was really wide, and the first thing that you would like to do with it, we would just write down, like brainstorming the words, everything really quickly. uh,
Hmm.
So it was time-based. And I have to say, from that really fast brainstorming mode where you're actually working with your imagination, it's not something that it's based on a success or numbers or anything like that, but something that was really fun, like the funniest thing that you could think of. And we actually, like, after a couple of sessions, we started to be pretty good. And I think that some of the ideas, they were put into realization. I'm not sure the stages, whether something really happened from it or not, but
Mhm.
I have to say the people were pleasantly surprised. You were having so much fun, and you could actually think outside of the box. So that was something that was really encouraging for, like, somebody that is working in sales. They are not doing, for example, R&D. So that was something that was really new for them, and it would actually, it give the other people good insights with their ideas,
Mhm.
why they actually pick that idea or this type of project. So you would really get a whole bunch of things, like, in really short time. So this
Yes, I mean, we had very nice experiences in gathering individuals from different departments, from large organizations and corporates, and having tremendous ideas.
yeah
But the one thing is actually to have an idea, but then when this idea needs to get into any kind of further development, then yeah, it's a
what is the
different thing.
budget, what are the expectations, and
Yeah,
what are the numbers.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I think it's definitely something that a company should try. You never know what can came up, and I think if you have one person in a group of 50 that is willing to try and push the idea through, I think then the things will get moving eventually. Somebody will join that individuals and actually seek that one of this idea could be, let's say, a test or a learning phase for everything else. Okay, let's just do one product, one idea to see how well it works.
yeah.
Yeah. Apart from that, well, fingers crossed for having for having an innovation team or at least innovation session per company in Croatia. But can you maybe tell us, like, what would be top three advices to somebody who wants to start their own startup? What would be a top three advices that you would give them from your experience?
Well, it's hard to only list three, but I think I
I
did.
mean, we can do more.
No, yeah, I know we can do a lot, but then it would not be fun. Uh, the first one would be that definitely you need to understand what is the problem that you want to solve and why. So if you're not super clear on that, then that's just something that you need to work on more. So that's number one. Number two would be that you actually need to, while you are developing your products or your team or your startup, you also need to develop yourself. By that, I mean invest in your personal development, invest in something that makes you feel good, but which also makes you feel that you are moving forward, that you are progressing. The reason for this is because very often in startup or in entrepreneurship, there will be times that you are feeling that you are actually going backwards, not going forward. So having something in on the side where you know that every day, whatever happens, you will actually move one step forward is actually uh, bringing a positive energy and positive spirit. This can be sports, it can be language, it can be music, it can be any kind of skill or knowledge that you want to master. And number three is be realistic with your cash flow, which means that actually try to project how much uh, revenue or let's say inflow, better to say cash inflow, do you expect to have on your bank account, and how much costs or outflows will you also have in the same period. You try to make sure there is a break even for a decent amount of time to actually make enough time to test and to build something until the validation phase. Uh, Probably more than a year. So take yourself more than a year and invest this time in building this product and try just to focus only on that. Yeah, that would be three things.
I have to say I really like the second one, investing in yourself as a side job or something like that. Uh,
Yeah.
I believe if you feel good, like if you're really focusing on only on one thing, because I believe that entrepreneurship, I'm really not an expert and I'm not an entrepreneur, but I've grown up with it. My parents were, and it really takes a lot from you as a person, and as, let's say, a part of a family. I mean, you're probably uh, not living alone, or you want to have a personal life. So if you're having just one thing that's like get your spirits up in the morning, whether it is a ritual you're trying to achieve, or sports or whatever. Definitely, I think it's a good way to go.
Something that you can count on
Yeah, yeah,
every day, no matter what happens, no matter who does what. It's only about you. So I think this is important
yeah. Some people
for, yeah,
meditate, for example.
yeah.
uh I honestly prefer either walking with music, just an hour or something like that, just to zone out, or read something, or I used to run. I don't anymore, but like it was my time, so something
Mhm.
that I would feel really good. And definitely I think that's one of also the keys to be a happy entrepreneur, I would say. Not just to achieve something, but really to find happiness in everyday work.
Yeah.
Oh, and I like for a finish of this episode, I've prepared a couple of, I call it quick and easy waves. So basically, they're really random questions, which does
Mhm.
not have anything to do with either your experience or Lean Startup Croatia. So think
Mhm.
as a brainstorming session. So the
Yeah.
first thing that comes to mind, just go for it. Okay.
Okay.
So first question: would you rather start a cheese or a chocolate making business?
I don't know. I like both. Probably cheese. I would see more challenge in cheese.
I'm a chocolate person. I like cheese, but I'm definitely a chocolate
I
person.
don't know what I like more. I like both, but I see that chocolate. Yeah, I mean, cool. But I think in cheese there is like more mastery. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know anything about either of those two
No, no, we
in the
said
sense
like
of
first that
doing
comes to
that.
mind. No
Yeah.
worries. Okay, second one. What was the funniest gift you have received?
Funniest.
Maybe something that your coworkers gave you. I
I mean,
think
I
that
was very often I see like a colon or stuff like that, but that's not funny. It's like
no, that means
something that,
that like the people or your friends, they don't tease you. That's a good thing. They actually bring you very useful gifts.
yes, because I'm a pragmatic person and they know it, so it's kind of, yeah,
Okay, so if you would compare yourself to an animal, what would you be and why?
probably an eagle or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just observe a lot, and that's from this perspective. From some other perspective, I would maybe be uh, some fish. Not
A
sure.
fish.
Yeah, maybe. I
Nice.
don't know why. Maybe just because I like the sea. But no, I would like to be a bird. I would like to be an eagle, and for many reasons. Because of the freedom, because I like the freedom, and probably one of the things why I decided to be an entrepreneur in my life is because of that. And the number one thing I already said is like observing and having this peace and quiet in the air.
No, definitely. I would agree with your choice. So okay. So what was your worst fear when you were a kid? What was like what terrified you when you were small?
But maybe going into some places which are in dark. I don't know.
Mm. Really? I mean, if you're really that fearless, I mean, no wonder you're an entrepreneur.
No, it's unknown places in dark. It was like,
Like for me, there was like I really don't like snakes.
oh,
For example, that was like big no no. So the last one. What two items would you take with you if you were shipwrecked to a deserted island?
was obviously it would be a knife and something to burn fire. But if
No,
we would
no
get
cell
more,
phones, no laptops, no
no,
sunscreen.
no. Probably the third thing would be a watch, and then uh, something related to food. But I would have to figure out what.
A knife can help you with the food, I think.
Yeah. No, I was more thinking like oil or salt or something like that.
Uh-huh. Oh yes, some
Joking.
spices. That's also great on a deserted island.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and then sunglasses.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely sunscreen. I will get totally red without without it. So.
I didn't think about it at all,
Mm.
but I agree.
That's it for me. And quick and easy waves. Thank you so much for your time today. I really had a really good time, and I really need to give a shout out to our listeners if they want to reach you or get involved with the Lean Startup or any of the projects that you are doing, which is not one; it's many, many of them. Feel free to look up the links to look up the website and just get involved. I think you just need to start, whether it is idea or whether it is just a group of people they want to test something. It's a good way to start sooner than later.
Yes, be proactive.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and see you guys in the next episode. Bye.